Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your favorite child, Main Joker, back again, once again. Welcome to another character review for Genshin. This time it's going over Ball, or Raiden Shogun. Since it is the last week before her banner ends and Kokomi's start, I thought, you know what, why not do a review now? Because I finally got her leveled up and people might be struggling on, should I get her? If I do get her, how many constellations shall I go up to? So I thought, you know what? Before her banner ends, why not do a quick review on her? I personally enjoy her. Before the video starts, make sure to like if you enjoy these character reviews, subscribe if you haven't already, really does help me, and hit the notification bell to stay notified of future videos, upload streams, character guides for stuff like Genshin, etc, etc. So without further ado, let's take a look at Ball / Raiden Shogun real fast. She's a 5-star polearm user. I got her to level 80. And right here, her ascension materials usually will require some of the storm beads to level her up, which is found on the new Thunder Island fighting the Electronin, which I heavily dislike that boss fight, but you know, Thunder Manifestation. It also requires handguards, and the Amakuma fruit, which is literally just like littered on that island. So for quick reference, all the way down here-ish. Let's keep going. Down here, there's the island, Surai Island. And right here, you'll do a whole quest, and you'll have to fight the Thunder Manifestation or Electronid. And here's a farming route that I kind of like laid out where a bunch of those fruits are. So, you know, you can easily look at that. There you go. And the handguards are dropped by Samurai everywhere. And without further ado, we'll look at the artifacts that we want from her. Usually, you know, you'd want probably an Electro Cup, which I need to get mine leveled up. You, of course, you know, would probably have her as a support DPS or a DPS, so you're probably going to want to run the normal stuff, so like crit, attack percentage, crit rate, you know, crit damage, and also energy recharge, and we'll get heavily into that later. But her best set is the Emblem of Severed Fate for the energy recharge. That and the fact that the 4-piece increases the elemental burst damage by 25% of your energy recharge. A maximum of a 75% damage bonus can be obtained this way. Now here's why you want to mess around with her energy recharge and you want to level that up a lot. Of course, you have her normal attack, which is Origin, 5 consecutive spear strikes, consumes certain amount of stamina for the charged attack, yada yada yada. But here's where the things get in with these two specific abilities and her passives. So her elemental skill is Transcendence Baleful Omen. This is a lot of text, but I'll try to summarize it up as easily and quickly as possible. She unveils this little thing that basically is like Oz in the sense of it stays on the field constantly doing electro damage to nearby enemies, and it grants Isa Stormy Judgment to party members. Which basically what Isa Stormy Judgment does, when characters with this buff attack and deal damage to opponents, it will unleash a coordinated attack, kind of like Oz, dealing AoE electric damage. Here's the other thing. Characters who gain the Eye of Stormy Judgment will have their elemental burst damage increase based on the energy cost of the elemental burst used during the Eye's duration. So, of course, you know, long cooldown stuff like Xingqiu or Beto's elemental burst, you know, will probably do way more damage than, let's say, something like Bennett's or like Kazuha's. Which elemental skills on controller are the R2 and bursts are the triangle. And the Eye can initiate one coordinated attack every 0.9 seconds per party. Coordinated attacks generated by characters not controlled by you deal 20% of the normal damage. Her burst, right here, is the secret art Muso Shinsetsu. A lot of text as well, but basically she whips out her sword from her boobs, Booba Shogun. She whips out her sword, enters a sword state, and when she pulls that sword out, unleashes it, what happens is basically a big field of AoE electro damage happens, and for around 7-ish seconds she goes into I'm going to destroy everything mode. And the damage of her sword that she whips out, the Muso no Hitatachi, will be increased based on the number of Chakra Desiderata's resolve stacks consumed when this skill is used, which basically when you're using Raiden Shogun, you'll find out that you have this like little circle around you. That will happen with the other characters as well when it builds up. Yeah, see, there we go. This is the Chakra Desiderata thing right there. And you'll see that built up when you use your Elemental Burst, and when it's full, of course, you can get maximum damage on Raiden Shogun with her Elemental Burst as possible. So while she's in this state, she will wield her Tachi in battle. Her normal charged and plunging attacks will be infused with Electro, which cannot be overridden. With each successful attack, she will generate energy for all nearby party members. So she is literally an Electro battery. She is amazing for that. And this effect can be triggered 5 times throughout this illustration. Well, in this state, her resistance to interruption is increased, and she's immune to electrocharge reaction damage. So any electrocharged reaction damage, she doesn't take any damage off of it. And also, her attacks will be considered elemental burst damage. Now, the way Chakra Desiderata works is basically when anybody besides Raiden Shogun uses the elemental burst, she will build up resolve stacks based on the energy cost of the elemental bursts. The maximum resolve stacks is 60. Resolve gained by Chakra Desiderata will be cleared 300 seconds after she leaves the field. So basically you build up the stacks. The whole gameplay style with her is pop the Baleful Omen so you get more damage on your elemental bursts, pop your elemental bursts, swap to Raiden Shogun, pop her elemental burst, boom, you should have close to max Chakra Desiderata stacks, and her burst is doing insane damage. Which the resolve bonus kind of shows here, stacks gained, yada yada yada. And of course, as you can see, the one thing that the order that you want to level up the talents is you want to focus on the secret art, her elemental burst, and then you want to upgrade the skill and either the normal attack, but balance out with it if you want her as a DPS. But if it's just a support DPS, level up the normal attack last. Her passive talents is right here. The wishes unnumbered. When nearby party members gain elemental orbs or particles, Chakra Desiderata gains 2 extra resolve stacks every 3 seconds. And then here's why you want to build Energy Recharge with her second passive talent, Enlightened One. Each 1% above 100% energy recharge that the Raiden Shogun possesses grants her 0.4% electro damage per and 0.6% greater energy restoration from her burst. So you want to have energy recharge higher for the simple fact that she gains electro damage for free and energy restoration. So even with the cup over here, it doesn't even need to be that. There's some argument of, do I want electro damage or do I want attack damage on my goblet? Which, attack damage, there's an argument to be made because right here in her talents with Enlightened One, she automatically gets electro damage built in. And then, of course, her passive talent, All Preserver, more expended when ascending swords and polearms is decreased by 50%. Overall, really nice. I personally enjoy it. Now let's talk about constellations. I personally have her at C1 because I got really lucky. And we'll sort of talk about how everything goes through with them. A C0 Ball, Raiden Shogun is, I'm going to call her probably Ball throughout the entirety of this. So if I say Ball, I'm talking about Raiden Shogun. But anyway, a C0 Raiden Shogun Ball is still really, really good for your team if you have to get it, or you just free to play, or you just don't want to get all the constellations. In my personal opinion, you basically just, at most, would go to C3 and then you'll kind of leave it, and I'll show why. So C1, Ominous Inscription, basically the Chakra Desiderata will gather resolve faster. When electro characters use their elemental burst, the resolve gained is increased by 80%. When other characters use their burst, it's gained by 20% increase. Constellation 2, Steelbreaker. In her burst, she ignores 60% of the opponent's defense, so that's really, really good. I would get that, but I'm kind of interested in maybe either the character reruns or Kokomi trying to get a copy of them. And I don't have, a lot of money to spend for it, but, this is probably where I would stop if I had more money. Or I wanted to test my luck. I would probably get Steelbreaker and then possibly be done. Constellation 3 increases her burst by 3, which of course would be more damage. That's where I'd say I'd stop. If, you know, personally for me, Pledge of Propriety, you know, Constellation 4, when the Musou Ishin state is applied by her burst, expires, all nearby party members, excluding Raiden Shogun, gains 30 bonus attack, 30% bonus attack for 10 seconds. Pretty good. Like, everything else besides C3, in my opinion, is just the icing on the cake. Even then, just the Constellation is just the icing on the cake for me. Constellation 5 increases her elemental skill level, and then Constellation 6, well, the Musou Ishin state is applied in her burst, attacks by the Raiden Shogun are considered part of her elemental burst, will decrease all party members' elemental burst cooldowns by 1 second when they hit opponents. This effect can trigger once every 1 second and can trigger a total of 5 times. So that's 5 seconds off the elemental burst, which is nice, but again, it's just, to me, C0 to C3 is really like you don't need the Constellation. They're just icing on the cake. Like, they're really good, but she does her job without all these. Like, again, like Constellation 1, it's just gain resolve faster. And she still does a really good chunk of damage. So, I don't know. You know, at the end of the day, you do what you want. And here we're going to talk about some weapon options for her. Of course, the polearm, Engulfing Lightning, her polearm that came with her banner is really freaking good. If you can pull it, if you have the money, or if you get lucky, because it has base energy recharge as a stat. And of course, attack is increased by 28% of energy recharge over the base 100. You can gain a maximum of 80% bonus attack and gain 30% energy recharge for 12 seconds after using Elemental Burst. Really, really, really good synergy with her on that. So of course, this is, in my opinion, her best in slot 5 weapon in general. But if you're free to play or like you don't want to roll on that, you know, you might not just go there. If you have the 5-star spear, Primordial Jade Spear, that would probably be the second best 5-star in my opinion. But if you're free to play or you don't have 5-star weapons, you know, the two best would, in my opinion, would probably either be the Kaiden Cross Spear, which that's very low. That's kind of like, you know, craftable. Get it if you don't have any of these other stuff. Favonius Lance can be nice because it does have an energy recharge base stat. Or the new 4-star weapon that you can get by fishing, the Catch. The Catch is probably her best 4-star weapon. You can gain the Catch by fishing, and the Catch has built-in energy recharge and does a bunch of stuff to the bursts crit, and yeah. So the two best weapons for her, in my opinion, if you're going with 5-star, the Engulfing Lightning, 4-star / free-to-play, the Catch. So I guess now we shall go into some team comps then, that I can sort of show you. The one I'm personally using is Tartaglia, Raiden Shogun, Kazuha, and Bennett, just for the reactions and the fact that Bennett can heal. Kazuha's amazing overall as Animo. And I can get some Electro Charge and live that sort of Foul Legacy fantasy with Tartaglia when I go into him. Some other options, of course, with Tartaglia would be using Xiangling instead of Kazuha for the fire bonus, the fire resonance, which the fire resonance increases the attack overall, plus, you know, one of the best versions of Child's team is with her anyway. And then there's a laser style comp, which is basically Raiden Shogun, and then you have Xiangling, and then like a Sucrose, Kazuha, or Venti mixed with a Xingqiu. And the whole concept would be you can have Electro Charge here, you can have, of course, your Animo there, and you can have Overload over here. You can also, a really, really good build, like some of the best builds are involving Eula. And you can have a physical Eula build with Rosaria, Zhongli, and Ball. And those are overall really, really good teams. And then there's a few others that I can think of, which two of them are DPS oriented for Raiden Shogun if you want to build it as the main DPS, which would be Xingqiu, Raiden Shogun, Zhongli, and Kujo Sara, if you can get her. She is on the banner as well. I've not messed around with her enough to properly do a review on her, but, you know, something like this. Raiden Shogun would be your main DPS. You'll have Electro Resonance, you'll be able to Electro Charge, and, you get your Electro Elemental Particles off of Electro Charge, cooldown reduction for 5 seconds, and you have Zhongli for shield. Overall, really, really good. A lot of the teams that you're going to build probably with her would involve Xingqiu heavily because he's just that amazing of a support. Another option is getting rid of Zhongli and throwing in Kazuha for NMO. You still have your Electro Resonance, but also removing Xingqiu if you happen to have a Mona. Mona would be better in this team comp than Xingqiu, but Xingqiu is a good replacement for this team comp, and if you don't have Kuchasara or her leveled up, you might have the other Electro Bird lady, Fischl, and you could use Fischl with it. Of course, Raiden will be your main DPS, Kazuha for Swirl and sub DPS, Kuchasara Fischl to keep up the Electro, and Mona could be a sub DPS or DPS support. Xingqiu could be a support DPS support for Electro, so you can get Electro Charge off. Another Eula team you can have, which, just pretend for a moment, Fischl's Eula, because I don't have Eula. But Eula, Raiden Shogun, Xingqiu, and then Diona. Diona would be there to give you shields, would be there to give you healing. You'll be able to get Super Conduct off, along with Super Conduct, yeah. Super Conduct, which will lower the defenses of the opponents. You'll be able to get that off, you'll be able to get Electro Charge off, and you'll be able to get a freeze going with Xingqiu and Diona or Eula. You will also be able to get off of that the Cryo Resonance, Shattering Ice, for having two, Diona and Eula, which basically will increase the crit rate against opponents that are frozen or affected by Cryo in general. So that's always a good comp, but if you want her as a sub DPS, DPS support, you can always have, for a moment, let's just say Amber is Yoimiya, but you can have Yoimiya, Raiden Shogun, of course Xingqiu, and then the best option would probably be Venti if you have him, but good replacements are Kazuha, or if you're free to play, you can use Sucrose. Basically, any of the three Anemo mains you can have and do things there. You'll basically get Vaporize off and just swap between Ball and Yoimiya most of the time as your main DPSs. Another team option, which I'm very tempted to mess with, is involving Tartaglia, right over here. Tartaglia, Ball, Xingqiu, and then I do have her, but I don't have her leveled up that much. Jean for your Anemo support, and also for your heals. Xingqiu for, being Xingqiu, being that Hydro Battery for Child, while also constantly applying Hydro damage that can combo very, very well with Raiden's little Stormy Judgment Eye. Raiden and Child would be your two basically main DPS that you'll swap constantly between. So when Child thing is on cooldown, you can go into Raiden Shogun, pop your Elemental Burst. When that's done, you can go to Child, and you can pop his skill, yada yada yada, some synergy there. And also you'll be able to get, for free, Soothing Water, which increases incoming healing from Jean. If you don't have Jean, or you don't really care about that healing as often, and you just want to rely on, Xingqiu's healing if you have him up enough, or you just don't care about healing overall, you can easily go and use Kazuha. Or if you don't have Kazuha and you're free to play, you can of course use Sucrose.
I can do it.
One more team that comes to mind is, now this is going to be a slightly interesting one, Chongyun and Xingqiu, the two that's paired together a lot for freeze comps. Raiden Shogun, you can get Super Conduct off or Electro Charge off. And I sadly don't have her, so I'm going to use Diluc for this example. Hu Tao. Hu Tao would be your main DPS, and Raiden will be your sub DPS, and of course, the other benefit that you can have off of stuff is Vaporize or Overload with Pyro and Hydro, or Pyro and Electro, and Melt. So those are just a few of the parties that can come to mind as possible parties with Raiden Shogun / Ball, but she is overall very, very flexible in your team. So I personally highly recommend getting her. And, you know, if you're still on the fence there, you can see some other videos or test your, you know. And, you know, like if you want Kokomi or like the reruns with Ganyu and that, there will hopefully be a Raiden Shogun rerun. So don't worry about that, but I personally recommend getting her. So of course, we're going to do a couple damage tests. Okay, so I decided we're actually going to do a damage test against Dvalin. So this is no buffs from any food items. No buff. Okay, so I decided we're going to do a damage test on Dvalin. This is no food at all. This is just, you know, my normal team. And I'm going to focus on just showing you guys Raiden Shogun's damage that she can do. Well, also give you my final thoughts. There's a note I forgot to make. So do note, with the way her abilities work, her normal basic, like her normal attacks, charge attacks, plunge attacks are considered elemental burst damage. So it does not stack for some reason with Beto's Stormbreaker, her elemental burst, which Beto's elemental burst is basically this whole thing of normal and charged attacks trigger the little shark things that are there to deal some electro damage. But it does work with Xingqiu's for some reason, just not hers. So, like not Beto's, but it does work with Xingqiu's swords. The normal attacks do trigger the swords, so that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to pair it with Beto. I'm gonna quickly do this. That'll drop Dvalin, but that's not my goal. My goal is to build up damage. So I'll just sort of build up some of her elemental particles, while also building up her meter. Okay, Dvalin's going to do a Celestial Finale Termini. And that will just get me moving. So I'll just come back when I have her fully set up to deal with Dvalin. And you all can see the damage numbers. Okay, Dvalin is down. Boom. Get that. Pop the elemental burst. Already over 3,000 damage. Overall, her damage is really nice. Again, you also have to keep in mind that this is level 80 with Engulfing Flame and with Bennett's ultimate, of course. But overall, the damage on her is really, really nice. And of course, in a scenario against another boss, after that was done, if you could get more damage in, you would have swapped off to Childe. So I'll just quickly kill Dvalin here. Pop this. And pop. Get that electro damage in. And that's a dead Dvalin. So yeah, overall final thoughts, really good. DPS support, you can build her as main DPS if you want. Her constellations are just the icing on the cake. C0 is still perfectly fine. If you're, you know, not free to play, I highly recommend using her best in slot weapon, the Engulfing Lightning. But if you are free to play or you just don't want to roll on the weapon banner, the Catch is probably her best, second best weapon, but her best 4-star / free to play weapon. So I would highly suggest you guys fish a lot if you go for her. And remember, even though it's like the last couple days of her banner, and you know, if you just don't have the primos, or you're safe and for Kokomi or one of the reruns, and you still want Ball, Raiden Shogun, she will have a rerun. So, you know, you can always go for that if you actually do want her. And yeah, I personally enjoy her. Very nice flex pick for really any team. Highly recommend running her with Child if you have Child, as like a little swap back and forth. You know, Xingqiu is always really great with her because his swords actually do trigger on her Elemental Burst, and it will do give a lot of things and do a lot of damage with Ice Storm Judgment because his Elemental Burst as one of the longest cooldowns in the game. That is all, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day. This has been Joker's review on Ball, Raiden, Shogun, and I'll catch you all on the next one.